Hey, Dude Facts family, thanks so much for tuning in today. We're going to continue our series of Dude Dollops, where each of the dudes is going to have an opportunity to share a little bit about their own life with you. Today we have episode 2, Ryan Williams, dropping a big dollop. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy. The Dude Fact starts now.
Hey guys, what makes a good book or a story that you really like? I'm going to give my answer to that here in a minute. But first off, I would like to welcome everyone to another Dude Dollop episode. I want to thank you if you're stopping by for another dollop, or if this is your first time. Or your first time even listening to Dude Facts. We appreciate you guys and we love you. Stick around. And like I said, this is another Dude Dollop episode. So if you don't know, we are doing a couple special episodes throughout this week and next week where we are giving you some one-on-one time with each of us dudes here at the Dude Facts podcast. And we're kind of just giving you a little glimpse into each of us, into our stories, and share something that's on our hearts or that we're passionate about, that we just want to talk about with you guys. And we'll lead that into, so before I get into my story, I want to maybe share something with everyone. So some people may know this. And if you don't know this, it'll probably be obvious after watching or listening to even just a couple episodes of Dude Facts. I am a giant nerd, and I want to take this time to have a little segment that I'm going to call Nerd Time with Ryan. All right. So if that was if I had a second camera, that would have been where I would have cut to it. And but anyways, yeah. So like I said, I am a giant nerd. So I want to give you some examples of that. So over here, I've got a shelf over here behind me that's got more of these. But so I've got a whole bunch of Star Wars figures. This one is one of my favorites. These are collector's items. I love these. My wife hates them because she says they just sit and collect dust. I disagree. I think they are collector's items, and that they will probably be worth at least $10-15 more than I paid for them at some point in the next 50 years. Anyways, along with that, I also I love comics, graphic novels. I've got some Marvel, DC stuff over there. I've got the entirety of The Walking Dead. This is Volume 1. I have a whole shelf, a whole separate bookshelf that is dedicated to Japanese manga. So we have that, and I've got, this is a collector's box. I've got a couple of those. Won't talk about those. So I have that. I've got multiple tattoos. If you remember the first episode of Dude Facts, I've got a Pokemon. I've got some other anime comic related tattoos. I'm really into Dungeons and Dragons, which I also have a tattoo for. And I love those things. Another thing that I'm into is reading. I love reading. Love all kinds of genres. I love science fiction. This is Ray Bradbury. He's one of the OGs of science fiction, modern science fiction. Love him. Got several books by him. I've got novels, some Ernest Hemingway here. I love poetry. I think I've said before in another episodes that I love poetry, and I even write some poetry myself. Couple of my favorites here. Got some Coleridge. We got some Robert Burns. If you're into some nice Scottish poetry, But yeah, out in the hallway, I've got a giant shelf that is both my wife and I, we both love reading, so we have tons of books. We got an overflowing shelf. Like we buy books more than we have space for, and we've got tons of we got tons of novels, fantasy books, all kinds of stuff. My One of my top favorites, and this is a collector's set that I have, is the Lord of the Rings. I love the Lord of the Rings. This is actually a set that um, the Two Towers, oddly enough, is the first Lord of the Rings book that I ever read. And the reason I bought this collector set is because this is a reprint edition of the exact copy of the Lord of the Rings of the Two Towers that I read when I was a young chap. This was in my church library that was in the back of the sanctuary, and I read this at probably an age that I didn't understand a word of what was going on, but it piqued my interest, and I kept coming back as I got older. Read all these. I love the Lord of the Rings. Um, so so I got all that. And these are things that I love. I whether it's reading or comics or Dungeons and Dragons or whatever, I have these passions of mine. And Jeff, if you didn't listen to Jeff's Dude Facts, Dude Dollop last week, earlier this week, you would have heard him talk about God gives us our passions, and these passions of mine have just, the fact that I've got a Dungeons and Dragons tattoo on me has opened up so many just conversations with random strangers um, out in public, just because we share a common interest, and all these things I've been able to share and create new relationships and have just talks with people of all walks of life because we love some of the same things and we're nerdy about a lot of the same things. Um, and you know, I want to use that to lead into a little bit of my story. So my story, like many of us, I grew up in church. I came to know Christ probably about the age of 7 or 8. Like a lot of people who grow up young in church, that seems to be about the time that we start to kind of understand what's going on, and there's an impression made on us, and I really, as I got older and into teenage years, I spent a lot of my time helping out with our church youth ministry, not just our youth ministry, but also just church in general. The church I grew up in Texas, we were very close church, and we did all kinds of stuff. Whether you were young, old, people were always doing stuff together and doing ministry together, and I loved it. I spent a lot of time doing worship with the youth ministry, kind of leading a youth led worship band throughout that. From there, as a lot of you probably know, if you don't know, Jeff was my youth pastor when I was in high school, for much of my time in high school. And he moved partway through my senior year, came to Clarksville, which opened up an opportunity for me to come here, come to Clarksville. I attended Austin P for college. I worked as an intern with him and Josh real closely at First Baptist. Spent a good couple years there with them. Grant, when he was an intern for the pastoral intern at First Baptist in Clarksville, we spent a lot of time together, and we made some really good connection. And obviously, as we're doing this now, it's a long time friendship between the four of us, and that is still bearing fruit today, and I love it. Um, but my time there, my time being in Clarksville, um, I was, like I said, I was at Austin P, and I was getting a degree there, so I got a degree in communications. But my real love and my real desire for things was reading and literature. So while I got a degree in communications, I got a minor in English, and I spent much of the later half of my time in college um, fulfilling the requirements for that and taking courses for my English minor, and reading a lot, studying books, and really doing a deep dive into literature and taking it beyond just just a surface reading of things, and really digging in and getting into the meat of what authors write and what they put in their books and their poetry and their writings and everything. Um, and I really got to kind of foster my passion for that. And one thing that fits in there that I want to talk about a little bit today is um is this. So this is the Bible, and as you can tell, this is Bible I've had for since I was in high school. I love I've read through this Bible. There's lots of notes, lots of reading. This Bible's been through it. But I love the Bible, and not just from a typical, like, oh, I'm a Christian, so of course I love the Bible type thing. No, I really find the Bible fascinating and enjoy it. I read it, and I read it in so many different ways. And the thing I really want to talk about is the Bible more so than just as scripture, but the Bible is just a wonderful piece of literature, and the way it fits into history. The Bible is a collection of books. It's not just one book. It's many books by different authors over many years that all relate to um, the Christian faith, and then the Hebrews before that, um, and the Israelite people and their story, and so much goes into what makes up the Bible. And we can really dig into that, and there's a lot of stories that you can read. And to answer my question from earlier of what makes a good book, to me, what makes a good book is something that has emotion and honesty. And I don't just mean honesty in the sense of like that it's something that's true. I mean honesty is in something that is true and resonates with the soul of the person who wrote it, and something that really just grabs at you. A story that whether you read it or hear it, that you're not just taking it in. It's not just something that you are kind of glossing over, and that you just kind of read or hear and move on, but something that you feel, something that really resonates with you. And the Bible has tons of that. One of the one of the books that I really love and go back to is I look at the book of Ecclesiastes. I Ecclesiastes has always been such a great book that I love to go back to and read, because it's an example to me of something that's more than just um, it's more than just words on a page. There's emotion, and um, there's this kind of existential pain that the author is kind of is conveying through their words. And I love that you can pick up on that. When we're talking about literature, something that is a something that is widely known and widely recognized throughout all people and lots of different walks of life is Shakespeare. We People love Shakespeare, and whether you start learning Shakespeare early on in high school, middle school, and you move on into I spent a lot of my time in college. I spent a whole class with my English minor just on Shakespeare alone and his body of work. There's so much in there, and something that is one of the most famous things that Shakespeare ever written, that even if you don't really read or don't know anything, you probably know a couple lines of Shakespeare. If speaking of like things that people know, Hamlet's to be or not to be soliloquy is so well known in pop culture, and has persisted so much. And when you read or you hear an actor portray The words to be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing them end them. That's something, and that continues on for some time, but that's something, that we can read. And when I read Ecclesiastes and I start, in chapter 1, and I read, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What does man gain by the toil at which he toils under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. And, when I read things like that, and I compare it to things I've read from just the world, that is right up there with them, and it's something that really resonates, and that really draws me into the Bible. And even beyond that, when you look at like the book of Judges, talking about the time of the Israelites before the time of kings, and then kings, and Ecclesiastes, the poetry of Psalms, and then the Gospels that we all know. The beautiful story of God's redemption for mankind, and the story of Jesus and his time here on earth. There's so much meat in there, and my main takeaway from all of this is just that the Bible is more than a textbook for us as Christians. It's a story. It's God's people and his love for us communicated through those people. It's a glimpse into the past where the whole range of human experience is on display. Some of the most beautiful poetry, rich dramas, they're held in these pages, and they contribute to that narrative of God's redemption for man that so many of us know. It's really easy. It's really easy to take this Bible and pluck a verse, and try to apply it to our lives, and we can do that, and we can, there can be some good from that, but we can never forget that each verse in this Bible is surrounded by not only its own literary context and the person who wrote it, but its place in history. And it's so much more than words on a page. There's so much more that we can glean from that, and really, dig in deep and apply to our lives. Um, and it's just something that I've always been very passionate about with the Bible, and that, if I could communicate to anyone, is something that to not just treat the Bible as just, another, just something, a set of rules or something for you. The Bible is a story, and something that we can really dig into and learn from. Um, uh, and to kind of wrap up, want to thank you guys all for joining me in. This is, been a little bit about something I'm passionate about. Thank you for attending my TED Talk. No, but seriously, we love you guys, and I hope you come back for more Dude Dollop sessions, and then our next episode of Dude Facts. Once we wrap these up, we'll be back and giving you guys some good old humor and dumb guy laughing, that I'm sure you can all just take more of, and are just in love with our laughing at our own jokes. But again, we seriously love you guys, and we thank you for joining and listening today, and we'll catch you next time.